when the EFF marked 10 years,
Yeah.
one of the big things was that 1 million members campaign. The election results suggested that you don't have 1 million members. That's the election results. And then when you look at by-election results as well, it suggests that some of the branches that are being launched, we should actually question the veracity of what is being presented as the part of that rebuilding process.
The EFF has received 1.2 million votes in the 2024 elections. I don't know if I've got that figure correct.
Yeah, you did push. I remember.
So,
you did push 1
so
million.
yeah, the correlation between million members and the voter outcome, I don't think is too far apart, if you're going to look at it in that sense. But I hear where you're coming from. There is a need to interrogate, and we've had that conversation internally at the National People's Assembly, and even at the recent meeting we had, about our membership system and its strength to verify the credibility of the data that we received. This is a concession that the EFF makes in its discussion documents to the Third National People's Assembly as well, that we need to constantly work on not only modernizing and digitizing our membership systems, but ensuring that they can credibly verify attempts to subvert the authenticity of membership through launching of fake or bogus branches, because the intent to do that is always towards conferences. So, for example, now we're going to have sub-regional people's assemblies because we dissolved regions.
Yes.
So people who have an interest in leadership or are pursuing those positions because they think it will equate to them either being councillors next year or something of that nature will try to manipulate the process of establishing genuine branches of the EFF. But we are working on that. I mean, the Secretary General of the EFF now is conducting much more aggressive verification of membership, what we receive from the ground, what we receive from the provinces and structures, and turning back a lot of submissions that we're receiving of structures that we think are not authentic or do not meet the criteria to be genuine branches of the EFF as well. So it's something that we're working on. And I think it's commendable that the EFF is investing in something of that nature to have a credible, verifiable membership database system. And it is going to translate into better performances in by-elections. Historically, the EFF is not an organization that performs better in by-elections or local government elections as compared to national elections. And that is something we need to improve on when it comes to the candidates that we put forward. A candidate for a by-election has to be someone who's rooted in that community, who's known, who's an activist, who's respected. So we've established criteria for our councillor candidates as well as to what type of person can stand. And I can tell you now, for example, recently I'm deployed in Johannesburg. In Ward 59, the candidate that we had proposed to the headquarters was rejected twice until we got to a candidate that met the criteria that the EFF wants of a councillor candidate of the EFF. So there's a lot of systems that we're putting in place. We're older, but we're still relatively young. So there's still things that we need to get right. I mean, 11 years, we're not even a teenager. 12 years, we're not teenagers yet. So I think the EFF is not doing too badly. I mean, the emergence of MK will make it look like that, but we perceive that as in line with, I mean, the KZN was run by IFP at one point. Look at where they are now.
Yeah.
So it's part and parcel of those things that happen politically, that there'll be an emergence of something new and it will attract people. It's got its voter base primarily in KZN. But we think those things, we're going to have to withstand them as the EFF over time.
Help me understand this with that in mind. The discrepancy between a branch that launches in KZN with 200 members strong, good standing, that delivers 20 votes. Those kind of discrepancies, what is that?
That's a reflection of something that was produced inauthentically. So it's a branch that you can see was either manipulated ahead of the Third National People's Assembly last year because people wanted delegates who would either support their candidates in that assembly, or a branch that has collapsed due to not being serviced. I mean, there's a culture of just establishing structures and then leaving them like that, not conducting political education, not prescribing to them what is required of a branch in terms of continued existence, frequency of meetings, servicing communities, identifying challenges. So there's still a lot of work we need to do in terms of politicizing our branches so that they can continue to exist. You can't launch a branch today or establish a structure with 200 members today and then have one meeting and then never go back to meet those people ever again and expect that to translate to votes for the EFF. So there's a culture we are going to try to build and inculcate that branches require servicing. I can't knock on someone's door 6 months ago and expect them to vote for me 6 months later when I've never interacted with them after I signed them as a member of the EFF.
That speaks to me as a work ethics issue, and that's one that your leader has raised. I've heard Julius Malema over the past years raising concerns about members who aren't willing to actually hit the ground doing the work. That feels like a problem that persists. You can argue you guys are a pre-teen party as you're making it, but the fact that that message doesn't seem to resonate, and the result is you're seeing it in election results. Political parties pursue elections to stay in power. That's what's at risk here. That's what's threatened by this culture.
Absolutely. It is a work ethic challenge. I think we should concede to that. And in his recent address to the Central Command team as well, I think the president raised his displeasure about KwaZulu-Natal in particular, not sort of expressing its remorse for the failures of last year through an increased work ethic. And it's something that we need to work on. I mean, we need to come to an appreciation of where we are as a political party. We declined, marginally, I would argue, but there's a lot of narratives around it. I saw Kanita, I think, write an article on News 24, say we were decimated in the 2024 polls. So
I wouldn't define it as
decimation, but it is a decline that must be noted.
It's a decline. It's a massive
and
decline,
accepted.
but I wouldn't define it as decimated. You're decimated in KZN in 2024, but not the overall
everyone
picture.
else.
Like everyone else.
I mean, the ANC went from 52 to 17. That's decimation.
You guys love whataboutism. Anyway, I want to wrap up, though, but I want to go back to the Trump issue that we spoke about. What's been interesting to me is seeing Carl Niehaus speaking. I understand why, under the current climate, it would be important for Carl Niehaus, who's not a Central Command team member, to speak. Because you need to project that you are not what they claim that you are, right? But Carl Niehaus has actually been given a platform in the EFF for some time. There was a period where he was there, Mzwanele Manye was there, Busum Kobane was there. These were people who seemed to be close to former President Jacob Zuma. Some of the murmurs I'd get from fighters themselves is, what is this though? That Carl Niehaus has gone to a court case in Limpopo, and I feel bad for picking at Carl, but it's not about Carl, it's actually about the organization, where he'll go to a court case in Limpopo, and the regional leader there doesn't speak, never speaks. But Carl Niehaus is given a microphone and does interviews. And EFF members are watching that. And then they watch also how these people were ushered in and were taken straight to parliament. The EFF can make an argument that deployment is not a reward, but it does communicate a particular message to your members, whether you like it or not. That disgruntlement does become an issue. It does fester.
Yeah, I don't know about the case where Carl spoke ahead of a regional leader somewhere.
It was a court case in Mudimole. Even I remember seeing it last year.
Okay. No, look, I think those are frustrations that have been aired in the EFF about people being, the term used is parachuted ahead of what is hard-working ground forces. But of course, you're correct. We don't characterize deployment as a reward for either long-standing membership or anything. We look at the qualities that someone brings to the table. And one of the qualities that Carl brings is not only that he's white and will break down a narrative that the EFF is a racist organization. He's an articulate individual. He's got experience in government. He was the spokesperson of Nelson Mandela. He's someone who's been around the political scene, who brings a level of experience as well. So there are a lot of attributes that he brings to the table, and there are aspects of him that he might not be strong at that another fighter next to him is as well. So I think the EFF is maximizing on people's capabilities and strengths as far as it can do, and that is all that is happening with Carl Niehaus. We're not expecting him to change the entire perception of the EFF to be correctly appreciated as an organization that is not racist, but is a living example that we're not going to kill any white person when we get into power. There's one amongst us. In fact, there's many.